All right, fourth time around. Here we go. This is Jack Yates again. I'm a sorry, graduate student, Masters of Science in Marketing at DU, and this fourth video is on a session called a featured session, should I say, called "Powering Tomorrow: How Big Tech is Redefining the Future of Energy and AI." This was a panel discussion. It was about energy. The level was intermediate, whatever that means. I went to it because, two of my categories are startups and AI. And especially in today's world where energy is always a hot topic and renewable energy is environmental sustainability and is a topic very near and dear to me. And with my focus on AI, it met, and my focus on startups, the innovative nature of the session met with that as well. So I was really excited for this. I have to say, while it was interesting, it was a little disappointed. There were three speakers sort of sitting in a panel discussion. Aaron Eckenrod from a company called AES, Kara Hurst, who is the VP of Sustainability for Amazon, and a guy called Clay Sell, who is the CEO of X Energy. And it was moderated by a gentleman named Ed Ludlow from Bloomberg. So off the bat, some pretty powerful people. I really enjoyed the first part of the session where they were talking about all these sustainability initiatives that Amazon is taking. I mean, AES is a transitional power company that helps organizations go from, let's say, outdated methods of energy into specifically wind and solar power. And X Energy is this really interesting company that's developed this new kind of SMR, which is a nuclear reactor, this new breakthrough technology that uses ceramic fuel reactors, these brand new ceramic fuel reactors that makes it so that the nuclear power plants cannot melt down. They cannot explode, as in stuff that happened in Japan or 3 Mile Island is a thing of the past, according to Clay. So it was really interesting in the regard of like, hey, look, there's this hope for a sustainable future. On one hand, we have the tools and we got to fund this stuff. But on the other hand, our power demands are growing exponentially because of, well, the way they put it, a lot of reasons, but primarily AI and data centers and the amount of just raw energy that data centers need. And, Clay had some interesting stats where he said like solar only provides like 24% of a battery charge, and wind only provides 25 to 40% of a battery charge for your typical AI data center. And this is where I'm trying to be quick because I could talk about this for an hour. But this is around halfway through the discussion where they sort of mentioned how Amazon is intertwined with both these companies and using their technology to sustainably fuel their delivery fleet, their AWS services, their AI services, their everything. But then it was almost rehearsed. I don't want to say it was, but it kind of started to feel rehearsed, where the three of them slowly started to transition into this topic of like nuclear energy is the future, and these breakthrough SMR technology that X Energy has developed is how everything should be running. And solar and wind can only do so much, according to Clay, and that nuclear is a power source that can run 24/7. It doesn't rely on wind. It doesn't rely on the sun. It can do everything. And I just thought that was interesting because he was saying he wanted to deploy 64 SMR nuclear power plants by the early 2030s, which felt really ambitious, and that he had the full support of the Trump administration behind him. And they just kept speaking about nuclear power as if I'm not coming from this politically. I'm not trying to sit here and say that nuclear power is bad. I understand the benefits of it. It's significantly more sustainable than oil and natural gas, for example, which they talked about for a while as well. But they kept calling it clean. They kept saying it's a clean energy source. There's no waste. And this company that Amazon's involved in is the future. And they're probably right. I mean, we probably are going to see a lot more of this technology used, especially if it is, as Clay says, that it's meltdown proof and will not explode. But the one thing they never, ever addressed, which this honestly bothered me, was this issue of nuclear waste. And that people who live near nuclear power plants do tend to sometimes develop learning differences at a higher percentage than others. Like, nuclear power is not this sort of make it and it's great and it works and it has no impact and it has no waste. Solar and wind have no waste. Unless you count the fact, which they actually did talk about this, that you do need to replace the actual machines, the solar panels and the wind turbines every couple of decades, if you can count that waste. But that's still metals that you can like melt down and repurpose. You can recycle those metals. You can't do anything with nuclear waste. And he kept saying repeatedly that these new SMRs are super safe nuclear power. And it's like there's an elephant in the room that they were dancing around, and it kind of bothered me, to be honest, because I was really excited for this event, and there were just some holes in what they were saying. There was even a part where Kara Hurst, who is the VP of Sustainability for Amazon, talked about the new Amazon Alexa and how that is a sustainability initiative. And even on the slides, they had a big picture pop up of the Alexa. And it's like, with the AI used in this, like, we can help people, I think she said, shop better. Like, they can better get the right clothing size, which will reduce the need for them, which will reduce people buying the wrong size clothes and then needing to return the clothes back to Amazon, saving on trips. And it just felt like this whole stretch of like, it just feels like you're promoting a product. It just feels like you're promoting Alexa with AI and you're using like sustainability as a cover to do so, which was kind of frustrating. And then there was, so I don't know. They presented it as if like they're the, because Amazon is this major company that's building massive data centers that suck up all this power. And this whole event just kind of seemed, like this, just, we have the answer. Don't worry about the problem. We can solve the AI power needs. And you're just sitting there and you're going, maybe? You're telling me on one hand that you have totally renewable nuclear power without talking about nuclear waste. And on the other hand, you're telling me that solar and wind are great, but that they can't meet the needs in the way that nuclear power can. And it's just sort of caught in like this contradiction where you're not really understanding it. And I'm coming at this from an AI and startup perspective again, with a real interest in sustainability where, it doesn't make sense. And one of the excuses that Clay talked about, he was saying older people, 40 plus, which, I don't think they're that old, but his words. He says they remember 3 Mile Island. They remember Chernobyl. And he was saying this after being asked by Ed Ludlow, the moderator from Bloomberg, about the PR of nuclear power. He even mentioned like The Simpsons when bringing this question. And Clay's response was like, oh yeah, nuclear's got a PR problem, but it's great. The future is here. And if you can make nuclear power plants that can't melt down, that's amazing. That is undoubtedly incredible technology. And if it can meet the needs of these data centers, that's powerful. But data centers in themselves are not sustainable when you have to tear down 30 acres of forest or farmland just to have a giant empty warehouse full of processors. And the last thing I want to mention, because I'm running out of time, was that there was a really great question where Ed asked Kara about, you've asked all your employees to return to the office 5 days a week. How is that sustainable? Like with the car commutes and everything, that's thousands of people commuting to the office. And her response was basically just like, oh, well, we encourage our employees to take public transport and to ride their bikes to work. And our manufacturing people have always been in the office. So, it's not a big deal. And just a total question dodge. I don't know. It wasn't a disappointing session. It was really interesting. It was just, I was very excited to hear these people talk about certain things, and I just weren't quite buying what they were selling, if you know what I mean.